Yo, what's going on YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and we are taking a look today at the Vegas Golden Knights. Might be a little bit of a changing of the tide in Vegas right now. The Sin City is living up to his reputation. Not necessarily for a good reason, though. The perception of the Vegas Golden Knights has drastically changed since they came into the NHL as an expansion franchise, the 31st franchise in NHL history back in 2018. Went on a miracle run, the Cinderella story of the decade, going to the Stanley Cup Finals in 2018. But this team is way different than they were then. And I have to go to Vegas next season, but I don't even live around there, right? I live on the opposite coast. I live in New York, and I can tell you that you hear murmurs all the time from Vegas Golden Knights fans. Here's another one. Every time I post these trade videos, here's another original gone, another original gone, another original gone for nothing. And it's starting to grow around the league that Vegas kind of just is a complete business and is so cutthroat that guys don't want to sign there this summer. And I thought that was a very poignant point to bring up. So, let's take a look at the original Vegas Golden Knights. So the original Vegas Golden Knights were a team with, and funny enough, we're going to talk about him today, Riley Smith, Nikita Gusev, you guys remember Gusev? Shea Theodore, Alex Tuch, Nick Suzuki, yes, that Nick Suzuki. They acquired guys like Mark Mathot, Alexei Emlin. They traded them both to acquire draft picks and prospects. Who else was an original? Yeah, they really didn't. Okay, so that's really the list of originals. Okay. How many of those guys are left that I mentioned? Theodore, Riley Smith, and that's it. Tuch is gone. Gusev, that didn't work out, right? It's kind of interesting to see where Vegas is today. So where did this all start? Where did the perception of the Golden Knights' cutthroat approach begin? Well, it started pretty early on. So they acquired, and this is interesting. So they acquired, let's see. Okay, here we go. We got it. So it started with some guys that they had taken in the expansion draft just to flip them to another team or to flip them back to a team, which isn't what they did, right? So Vegas selected Mark Mathot from the expansion draft and then flipped him to Dallas, where Mathot did not want to go. He ends up getting flipped there for Dylan Ferguson and a second-round pick. So Mathot gets ripped out of Ottawa, sent to Vegas, and then is now in Dallas. Just like that, within a couple of days. Same thing for Alexei Emlin. And I think that's part of the reason he left for Russia, because he wanted no part of this. He was selected. He ends up getting sent to Nashville. And we see some weird deals here where the Golden Knights acquired Marcus Kruger from the Blackhawks to just to relieve themselves of the cap. But then they got a 5th-round pick and flipped him 2 days later to the Hurricanes for a 5th-round pick. Kind of odd, right? Now we're starting to get to more interesting trades. So one of their first bigger trades they made was February 23rd at the 2018 NHL trade deadline. It was a trade between the Ottawa Senators, the Pittsburgh Penguins, and of course, the Vegas Golden Knights. So the Ottawa Senators acquired at the time goaltender Philip Gustafson, Ian Cole, a 1st and a 3rd-round draft pick. The Pittsburgh Penguins acquired Derek Brassard, Tobias Lindbergh, and Vince Dunn, and a 3rd-round pick. So Pittsburgh got a decent amount here. The Vegas Golden Knights ended up getting Derek Brassard, Ryan Reeves, and a 4th-round selection. So a lot going on between the three teams. But what's interesting is the draft picks, because those picks ended up becoming really good picks that Ottawa ended up trading away themselves to the New York Rangers in another trade for Zibanejad. But we're not going to get into that today. So that was one of their first quote-unquote major moves. Not a major move, but one of the bigger trades that they had made in that first season. Now, this is where things started going sideways. February 26, 2018, that same trade deadline, the Vegas Golden Knights paid a handsome return to the Detroit Red Wings and then general manager Ken Holland. The Golden Knights acquire Tomas Tatar for a 2019 second-round pick, a 2018 first-round pick, and a 2021 third-round pick. So a first, second, and third-round pick for Tomas Tatar, who that was more of a cap dump at the time for the Red Wings. Now, we get to September of that same year, 2018. The Vegas Golden Knights then trade Tomas Tatar. Pretty brutal, right? So, 8 months later, 7 months later, they flipped him. They gave up all that capital, and they flipped him. Now listen to this. The Vegas Golden Knights acquire Max Pacioretty from the Montreal Canadiens. Habs fans were pissed at the time. As you guys all remember, captain of the Habs, right? That was a big loss for them. But you consider what the trade involved. Now, it was Tomas Tatar, who I just mentioned, was traded 6 months prior from the Detroit Red Wings. So he was with the team for a playoff run, and that was it. See you later, pack your bags, you're out of here. Not a really good look. Not only did they trade up Tomas Tatar, but they also traded Nick Suzuki and a second-round draft pick. So you traded Nick Suzuki, a very good, highly thought-of first-round prospect of the Golden Knights. Just sent him to Montreal. And now is the number one center in Montreal. And probably the next Patrice Bergeron. And the perception that this whole Tatar thing, right? Players notice stuff like that. Players notice when you do stuff like that. And when you flip a guy 6 months after acquiring him, you know, I remember in GM mode, in like NHL 12 or 15, they would say, oh, bad reputation. You sign the guy and then trade him. Or you just acquire the guy and you trade him again. Not a good look. Same thing goes in real life. Again, we're comparing video games to real life, but you get what I'm saying, right? That is a thing. Moving forward, they made a big trade in 2019 at the trade deadline, right? This time they were making a big trade for Mark Stone. They acquired Mark Stone and Tobias Lindberg for Oscar Lindberg and Eric Brandstrom and a second-round draft pick. So obviously the big piece of that trade today being Eric Brandstrom. So that was another big trade they made. Now we see another interesting trade. They trade out Eric Howlaw, right? They traded him out for Nick Waugh and a fifth-round pick. They traded out Colin Miller for a second and a fifth, all in the same year, right? They traded Nikita Gusev just 2 years after he was brought in, you know, with the expansion. Not even, right? Yeah, a year, because he came in the summer of 2018, I want to say, right? So, a year of Gusev, and he's gone. 6 months of Tatar, he's gone. They brought in Alec Martinez, which was a big one. They brought in Chandler Stevenson, which at the time didn't seem like it, but for a fifth-round pick, I would take Chandler Stevenson for a fifth-round pick in a heartbeat any day. And I think most Knights fans would today still. The Golden Knights traded out Cody Eakin. They brought in Dylan Cousins. So they made some interesting moves. They made another 3-team trade. And this is where Alan Walsh and Marc-Andre Fleury infamously come into the conversation. February 24th, 2020. We're in COVID. It's the first trade deadline with COVID. And the Vegas Golden Knights, this is where things turned. So they were making these trades, right? They traded out Suzuki. They traded out Tatar after 6 months. They traded out Gusev after almost a year. this is the one that started to roll things in a very bad way. 2020. 3-team trade between Chicago, Toronto, and Vegas. Chicago Blackhawks acquire Malcolm Subban, Stanislav Demin, and a second-round pick. The Toronto Maple Leafs acquire Robin Lehner and a 5th-round draft pick. Now, Toronto ended up being the mediator because then they traded Robin Lehner to the Vegas Golden Knights. Robin Lehner to the Knights with Martins Dzirkals. Interesting move, right? So, the Golden Knights bring in another goaltender to play alongside Marc-Andre Fleury. And Alan Walsh comes out with the infamous tweet with a sword going through Marc-Andre Fleury with the Vegas Golden Knights jersey on. Now, obviously, that created a ton of buzz in Vegas and around the National Hockey League. And that is when they lost Fleury, right, and he started to say, all right, I'm not a fan of this, that is when things went off the rails. So remember that. We're in 2020 now. And they're pulling the same stuff. Paul Stastny got traded to Winnipeg. How nice of them. We saw a trade last year with Matthias Janmark coming in. No surprise there. We remember that. So now we start to see them make some more interesting trades. And this was this year. Cody Glass for Nolan Patrick, a former 2nd overall pick. Nolan Patrick for Cody Glass, who I believe was I think he was a 5th overall pick. Not to mention the first ever draft pick by the Vegas Golden Knights in franchise history for a bust at the time in Nolan Patrick. That was this year. So there's a couple trades at the draft. Nobody's looking at that. But then, now remember, they brought in Robin Lehner. And I'm not mad at Robin Lehner for this. It's not his fault. February 24th, 2020 to a year later, July 27th, 2021. The first ever Golden Knights selection in the expansion draft, Marc-Andre Fleury, with the awkward smile wave. Marc-Andre Fleury is traded to the Chicago Blackhawks for Mikhail Hakkarainen. That week, Mikhail Hakkarainen was bought out. So, virtually, the Vegas Golden Knights traded Marc-Andre Fleury for nothing. So now this is a growing list. Tomas Tatar traded after 6 months on the team. Nikita Gusev, well, it didn't work out, but still, traded a year since he was with the team, signed with the team, and then left, right? Seeing another one here, Marc-Andre Fleury. But it gets worse. We get to this season. They trade longtime Golden Knight Nick Holden to the Ottawa Senators for Evgeny Dadonov. They trade out Ryan Reeves, sent to the Rangers. Another original traded for Jack Eichel. The big Jack Eichel trade. Jack Eichel comes to Vegas for Alex Tuch, who was an original. Peyton Krebs, who was an original draft pick of Vegas. And a first-round pick. And a second-round pick. Right, they gave up a lot for Eichel. You seeing a trend here? You know, I talked about Dadonov getting traded July 28th, 2021. June 16th, 2022, Evgeny Dadonov is again traded for Shea Weber's contract, which is going to go on LTIR and live in infamy and will go away. Dadonov, a year on the team, traded. Now, we get to the meat of it. The most recent trade that Kelly McCrimmon and the Vegas Golden Knights have made, Vegas Golden Knights acquire nothing. A growing theme. The Carolina Hurricanes acquire Dylan Coghlan, another original prospect of the Vegas Golden Knights, and Max Pacioretty. For nothing. This is the Vegas Golden Knights. This is what they do. Very cutthroat. And listen, if it works, great. But here's the problem. It's not working. And the sentiment around the league is the Vegas Golden Knights, you sign an 8-year deal in Vegas, there's no guarantee you'll be there 2 years from that deal being signed. And teams are picking up on this. Players around the league are picking up on this. And they're saying, well, why would I want to go to Vegas? Guys aren't choosing Vegas like they did in 2018. 2018, they were the fun, they were the cuddly poodle in 2018. Right? That could do no wrong. They got beat up a couple times in the playoffs, just like maybe a sick dog getting beat up. And now they find themselves in a spot where they are the hairless poodle that nobody wants to go near. And that's the Vegas Golden Knights today. Kelly McCrimmon took over George McPhee, I think last year or 2 years ago. I don't know if he's the right guy for Vegas. And I think today, looking at these trades, Pacioretty, Fleury getting traded for nothing. Pacioretty, Fleury getting traded for nothing. Trading out Tatar and Gusev within 6 months to a year. Same thing for Colin Miller. Same thing for all these guys. And it all started even under George McPhee. When they flipped guys from the expansion draft. Guys they never intended having on the team. Like Mark Mathot and Alexei Emlin. It's part of the business, but it's grown a perception for this team. To the point where teams were saying no in free agency this year. And maybe that's time for a change. Maybe that's where Bill Foley, the owner, sees that, hears enough about that, and says, yeah, guys don't want to come to us anymore. Why? We have a general manager that doesn't put the players at any sort of being on the table. And they're paying for it. Now, we do have some signing news out of Vegas. But all guys returning for the most part. Riley Smith signs a 3-year deal. He's the last original at this point. $5 million per season, $15 million over those 3 years. We'll see how long he lasts. He's lasted since 2018. Who knows? Michael Hutchinson signs a league min $750K, 1-year deal. And that's pretty much it. Now, the best is the perception from around the league. This is from Jesse Granger. He said, in back-to-back off seasons, the Vegas Golden Knights have traded away their Vezina-winning goalie and their top goal scorer. In return, they've gotten absolutely nothing. Now, I'll end on a salient point today. This is Mark Mathot, the blood of the Ottawa Senators during their years of success, right, in the late 2010s. And he's the guy that was selected in the expansion draft and ultimately traded right out. He was just an asset that never intended to be in Vegas. This is a tweet from Mark Mathot the other day. Absolutely no part of me feels bad for the Vegas Golden Knights. It's all well deserved. And I'll end on that point, guys. What do you guys think the future and the direction of the Vegas Golden Knights is? They bring in a new head coach, Bruce Cassidy. Had some success with the Bruins. There's players on this team. There are some dudes. There are ballers in Vegas. But the question is the perception from other teams. Are guys going to waive a no-movement clause to go to Vegas? Are they going to sign in Vegas in free agency if they have to choose between Vegas or San Jose or LA or Anaheim? What do you guys think? Let me know down below. If you guys like these videos, make sure to subscribe as well. Make sure to check out our links in the description as well. We've got some Amazon affiliation links if you want to help support the channel. You click on the link. You don't even have to buy that product. If you buy any product on Amazon from clicking that link, I do get commission off of that within a day of you clicking that link. So obviously if you could do that, that definitely supports the channel. If you're going to buy stuff anyway, might as well help me out. If not, no big deal, but I'd like to mention that at the end. And obviously, I want to hear what you Golden Knights fans think, because this is something that is becoming more and more and more pronounced with the moves they're making. And it's just like they don't even care about that perception side of it. And I just wonder how far until it catches up with them. Guys, let me know down below, and I will see you again next time.